My parents gave my $2M inheritance to my deadbeat brother because he needed it more. What they didn't know was that Grandma and I had already wired the entire estate with a legal landmine. My mother slid the papers across the kitchen table without even looking at me. Your brother needs it more than you do, Anna. He has 3 kids. You're single. You're successful. You understand. I stared at the documents. Transfer of ownership. Grandma's Victorian house. The one with the wraparound porch and the original stained glass windows. The one that sat on 5 acres of pristine valley land worth close to $2 million. The house she had explicitly, unambiguously left to me in her will 6 months ago. He moved in yesterday, my mother added, arranging cookies on a plate like we were discussing weekend plans. We didn't want to bother you with the details until everything was settled. My hands went cold. Moved in yesterday. Well, yes, he needed to get out of that awful apartment. The landlord was threatening eviction again, and with the kids, we just couldn't. Mom, my voice came out flat, hollow. Grandma left that house to me. My father walked into the kitchen then, arms crossed, that look on his face, the one that said the discussion was over before it started. Don't be difficult, Anna. What would you even do with a 5-bedroom house? Live there alone? That's selfish. Michael has a family. He needs space. You have your condo. Selfish. I'm selfish. Not Michael, not my older brother, not the golden child who gambled away his inheritance from Grandpa Frank in Vegas, not the one who lost his wife because he slept with her yoga instructor and got caught when the woman's husband posted their text messages on Facebook, not the one who hasn't held a job longer than 8 months in his entire 42 years of life because he's between opportunities, or the manager had it out for him, or the commute was too stressful. But me, the one who put herself through USC with scholarships and 3 part-time jobs, the one who built a career as a senior environmental consultant, the one who never asked them for a single dollar after I turned 18, the one who sat with Grandma through 2 years of chemo appointments when everyone else was too busy. I'm the selfish one. I stood up, grabbed my purse from the counter. Where are you going? My mother asked, her voice rising. We're not finished discussing this. I have a meeting with my lawyer this afternoon. The color drained from her face. Your lawyer? Anna, don't be difficult. This is about family. Yes, I said, walking toward the door. It is about family, specifically about how Grandma trusted me to handle hers. My father stepped in front of me, 6'2", retired Marine, still thinking he could physically intimidate me into compliance. You're going to contest your grandmother's will? Do you know how that'll look? How that'll make us all look? I'm not contesting anything, Dad. The will is perfectly clear. I'm the executor. I'm the beneficiary. And I'm leaving now. I walked past him, out the door, into my car. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Grandma had seen this coming 3 years ago. I'd been visiting her every Sunday for almost a decade by then. We'd have tea on her porch, talk about everything and nothing. She'd tell me stories about growing up in the valley when it was still mostly farmland, about how she and Grandpa bought those 5 acres in 1962 for $8,000, about the hawks that nested in the oak trees and the creek that ran through the back portion of the property. One Sunday in April, 3 years before she died, she called me into her study instead of out to the porch, sat me down in the leather armchair that had been Grandpa's, looked me dead in the eyes. They'll try to take it from you. Anna girl. What? The house, the land, after I'm gone. Your parents have always been blind when it comes to Michael. They'll try to give him everything because they think if they just give him enough, he'll finally get his life together. My stomach had dropped. Grandma, I don't listen to me. I know my daughter, I know my son-in-law, and I know my grandson. Michael's had every advantage, every opportunity, every second chance. He's wasted all of them. You, though? She smiled. That sharp, knowing smile that reminded me she'd been a corporate attorney before she retired. You earned everything you have, and you'll protect what I'm about to give you. I will, I promised. Not knowing what I was promising exactly, but knowing it was important. That's why the house is just the bait. She pulled out a folder. The real inheritance is already taken care of. Inside were property documents, land transfer records, dated and notarized and filed with the county 2 weeks earlier. She had transferred the land to me, all 5 acres, minus only the quarter-acre plot the house sat on, which she kept in her name. But why not just, I started. Because your parents need to think they're winning when they try this. They need to think they've successfully given Michael the house, that they've fixed everything for their poor, struggling son. And then, she pulled out another set of documents. You'll show them what we really did. Conservation easement, permanent protection status, filed with the State Department of Fish and Wildlife. The entire 5 acres designated as endangered species habitat specifically for the California red-legged frog and the western pond turtle, both of which lived in and around the creek on the property. No construction, she explained. No development, no subdividing, no significant landscaping changes. It's a nature preserve now, Anna. Forever. I stared at the paperwork. So Michael gets the house, but it sits on a quarter-acre island in the middle of your protected land. He can live there. He can't sell it. Who wants to buy a house with no land to speak of, surrounded by a conservation zone they can't touch. He can't develop it, can't build the pool he'll want, can't add the guest house, can't do anything except live in the house exactly as it is. And if he violates the easement, fines up to $25,000 per day per violation, payable to the state. Plus you, as the landowner, can file for damages and removal. We spent the next hour going over every detail, every contingency, every possible angle my parents might try. By the time I left that day, I had copies of everything, and I had the name of her attorney, Thomas Patterson, 34 years practicing environmental and property law. Don't tell them, she said as I left. Let them think they've won. Then show them what winning actually costs. Grandma died 14 months later. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and brutal, despite the chemo, despite everything. I was there, held her hand, told her I loved her, promised again I'd protect what she'd built. My parents and Michael weren't there. Too difficult, my mother said. Too painful to watch. They came to the funeral, of course, sat in the front row, cried appropriately, accepted condolences. At the will reading, my mother's attorney, some guy named Richard Chen, who'd handled their basic paperwork for years, read out the bequests. The house to me, her jewelry to my mother, her car to Michael, her savings, split evenly between all three of her grandchildren. The land wasn't mentioned, because it wasn't in her estate. It had been mine for over 2 years by then. My mother cried and said how generous Grandma was. My father nodded solemnly. Michael looked disappointed. He'd probably been hoping for more. I didn't say anything. For 6 months, I waited, kept visiting my parents every few weeks, like always, asked about Michael, heard about his job loss, his eviction notice, his struggle. I knew what was coming. And then, this morning, my mother called, said she needed to see me, said it was important, family business. I'd grabbed the folder from my safe before I left, everything I'd need. Now, sitting in my car outside my parents' house, I pulled out my phone and texted Thomas Patterson. They made their move. His response came in 30 seconds. I'm at the office. Come now. Patterson and Associates was in a renovated Craftsman in Old Town, Pasadena. I'd been there twice before, once with Grandma to finalize the easement, once after she died to review everything. Thomas Patterson was in his late 60s, white hair, sharp eyes, and the kind of calm competence that came from winning cases for 3 decades. They transferred the house, I said, walking into his office. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Sit, tell me everything. I handed him the documents my mother had tried to get me to sign. He read through them slowly, occasionally making notes on his yellow legal pad. This is remarkable, he said finally. I've seen family overreach before, but this is extraordinary. They transferred property that wasn't in the estate yet. You're the executor. They didn't consult you. They didn't file this properly with the court. Your brother has moved into a house he has no legal claim to. What do? We proceed exactly as we discussed. We send notice to Michael that he's residing on your property without permission. We inform your parents that they've violated their legal responsibilities as individuals attempting to distribute estate assets without executor approval. And we make it very, very clear that any violation of the conservation easement will result in immediate legal action. When? I can have the notices drafted by end of day. Certified mail tomorrow. They'll have them by Friday. Do it. He smiled. Your grandmother would be proud. I drove home in a fog, ordered Thai food I barely tasted, sat on my balcony and watched the sunset, and tried to remember that I was doing what Grandma wanted, what was right. My phone rang twice, my mother both times. I didn't answer. The next day at work, I couldn't focus. I was a senior consultant at Pacific Environmental Group, managing habitat restoration projects across 3 states. My job required precision, attention to detail, scientific rigor. Instead, I spent the morning staring at spreadsheets and seeing nothing. My colleague Sarah Chen, no relation to my parents' attorney, knocked on my office door around 11. You okay? You've been staring at that same Excel sheet for 40 minutes. Family stuff, I said. Need to talk? Not yet. Maybe later. She nodded and left. Sarah was good like that. Knew when to push and when to give space. Thursday afternoon, Thomas called. Notices sent. Tracking shows delivery tomorrow before noon. Okay, Anna, his voice gentled. This is going to get ugly. They're going to be angry. They're going to feel betrayed. Are you prepared for that? Was I? I thought about every family dinner where Michael was celebrated for showing up. Every Christmas where my accomplishments were acknowledged with a nod, while his latest business idea got enthusiastic discussion. Every time my parents had pulled out their checkbook to bail him out of another crisis, while I paid my own way through everything. Yeah, I said. I'm prepared. Friday morning, I turned my phone off, went to work, focused on the Santa Monica wetlands restoration proposal I was supposed to have finished last week. Around 11, Sarah appeared at my door again. Your mom called the office line 5 times. Jenny at reception is getting worried. Tell Jenny I'm fine. Tell her to stop putting the calls through. Want to tell me what's going on? I looked at her. Sarah and I had been friends since grad school. She'd been at my grandmother's funeral. She knew my family dynamics. My parents gave my inheritance to my brother without asking me. What they don't know is that my grandmother and I set up a legal trap 3 years ago, and it's springing right about now. Her eyes widened. Holy shit. Yeah. Need backup? Not yet, but I might. She left. I tried to work. Failed. Around noon, I turned my phone back on. 63 text messages, 22 missed calls, 17 voicemails. The first text was from Michael, time-stamped 10:47 a.m. What the hell is this, Anna? The second, some lawyer says I can't build anything. I can't even put in a pool. The third, are you serious right now? Then my mother, Anna, please call me. This is urgent. My father, we need to talk now. More from Michael. You planned this. You and Grandma planned this. You're trying to steal my house. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called Thomas. They got the notices, he said. I've also received 3 calls this morning. One from your brother, one from your mother, and one from Richard Chen, attempting to negotiate. What did you tell them? That the conservation easement is legal, binding, and permanent. That your brother is currently residing on your property without a lease. And that any attempts to develop, modify, or violate the terms of the easement will result in immediate legal action and fines starting at $25,000 per day. How did they take it? About as well as you'd expect. Your brother threatened to sue. I informed him that he's welcome to try, but that the paperwork is airtight and predates your grandmother's death by over 2 years. Your mother cried. Your father got loud. Chen, to his credit, actually read the documents and realized they have no case. So what happens now? Now we wait. They'll either accept reality or they'll try to fight. If they fight, we'll crush them. The law is entirely on your side. I thanked him and hung up, stared at my phone, read through the messages again. Michael was spiraling. His texts got increasingly frantic. Mom says you're going to kick me out. Where am I supposed to go? I have kids, Anna. Grandma would be ashamed of you. That last one made me laugh. Actually laugh out loud in my office. Grandma would be ashamed of me? Grandma planned this whole thing specifically because she knew exactly who Michael was. Around 2 p.m., my phone rang. My mother. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Anna, please. Her voice was thick with tears. Please, we need to talk about this. As a family. We're not a family, Mom. We're 3 people who enable Michael's dysfunction, and 1 person who got tired of watching. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you called me just to talk? When's the last time Dad asked about my work? When's the last time anyone in this family acknowledged that I exist as anything other than the responsible one who'll always be fine? Silence. Grandma saw it, I continued. She saw exactly what you'd do. That's why she planned this 3 years ago. She didn't trust you to honor her wishes. She trusted me. We can fight this in court, my mother said, her voice hardening. This is cruel. This is vindictive. It's a legally binding conservation easement protecting endangered species habitat. You think a judge is going to side with you against state environmental protection laws? Be my guest. Try. I hung up. The next call came 90 seconds later. My father. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to it. Anna, I'm disappointed in you. Your grandmother would never have wanted this family torn apart. You're punishing Michael for needing help. You're punishing your mother and me for trying to take care of our son. This is beneath you. Call me back so we can handle this like adults. I deleted it. By Saturday morning, the messages had multiplied. My Aunt Diane, my mother's sister, texted, I don't know what's happening, but your mother is devastated. Whatever this is, it's not worth destroying your family over. My cousin Jessica, is it true you're kicking Michael and his kids out on the street? Family friends I hadn't heard from in years. We're praying for your family during this difficult time. The narrative was being established. I was the villain, the cruel, selfish daughter who was punishing her struggling brother. I didn't respond to any of them. Sunday afternoon, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole. My parents, standing in the hallway of my building, looking grim and determined. I opened the door. We need to talk, my father said. No, we don't. Anna, please, my mother started. Let us explain. Explain what? How you decided to give away something that wasn't yours. How you moved Michael into a house that was explicitly left to me without even telling me until after. How you assumed I'd just go along with it because I always do? My father's jaw tightened. You're being unreasonable. Michael has children. They need stability. Then Michael should get a job and provide that stability, like I did, like everyone else does. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You think if you just give him enough, fix enough of his problems, rescue him enough times, he'll magically become responsible, but he won't because he's never had to be. You've enabled him his entire life, and now you're surprised he's 42 years old and can't function without you. My mother's face crumpled. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold. I'm done. There's a difference. I started to close the door. My father stuck his foot in the way. The house is his now, he said. We're not backing down on this. The house is sitting on my land. Land Grandma transferred to me 3 years ago. Land that's under a permanent conservation easement. Michael can stay there if he wants. He can live in the house. But the 1/4 acre it sits on is all he gets. The other 4.75 acres are mine, and they're protected. Forever. That means no pool, no guest house, no tree removal, no landscaping changes, no nothing. And if he tries, he'll owe the state $25,000 per day, and I'll sue him for damages and removal. My father's foot moved. I closed the door, locked it, stood there breathing hard yard while they knocked 3 more times, then finally left. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every moment, wondering if I was doing the right thing, if Grandma would actually be proud, or if I was just being vindictive. Around 3 a.m., I got up and opened the box I kept in my closet. Photos and letters Grandma had given me over the years. At the bottom was an envelope marked, "For Anna, when you need it." I'd never opened it. She'd given it to me the same day we finalized the easement, told me to read it when things got hard. Now seemed like the right time. Inside was a letter in her careful handwriting. "Anna, girl, if you're reading this, it means they tried to take it. I'm sorry. I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not. I know my daughter too well. Your mother is a good person, but she's always been blind when it comes to Michael. She sees him as her little boy who needs protecting, not as a grown man who needs to face consequences. Your father enables her because he loves her and doesn't want to see her hurt. But you, Anna, you see clearly. You always have. The house and land aren't about money or property. They're about values, about responsibility, about protecting something bigger than ourselves. That valley land is one of the last undeveloped parcels in the region. The creek supports species that are disappearing. The oak trees are over 100 years old. It matters. I knew Michael would never protect it. He'd sell it to developers the moment he needed cash. I knew your parents would let him. But you, I knew you'd fight for it, because that's who you are. Don't let them make you feel guilty for being strong. Don't let them make you feel selfish for having boundaries. You're doing what's right, even when it's hard. I love you. I'm proud of you. And wherever I am now, I'm watching you protect what we built together. Love always. Grandma." I cried then, really cried, for the first time since she died, for her, for the family I thought I had, for the reality of who we actually were. Monday morning, I went to work with my eyes swollen, but my spine steel. Sarah took one look at me and brought coffee. "How bad?" she asked. "Atomic. Need anything?" "Yeah, a field team for the wetlands site next week. I need to get out of town." "Done." That afternoon, Thomas called again. "Your brother's attorney contacted me. He wants to negotiate." "Michael has an attorney?" "Apparently. Daniel Brooks, solo practitioner, does mostly personal injury work. I get the impression your parents hired him." "What does he want?" "He wants you to void the easement or sell Michael the land at fair market value." I actually laughed. Fair market value for endangered species habitat that can't be developed? What's that worth, exactly? According to the environmental protection statutes and the permanent easement restrictions, essentially nothing to him. The land has value as a nature preserve, but not as developable property. Tell him no. Already did. He's threatening to sue for emotional distress. Let him. He also suggested that your grandmother wasn't of sound mind when she made these decisions. My blood went cold. "Excuse me?" "It's a common tactic, trying to invalidate the easement by claiming diminished capacity. She was sharp as a tack until 2 weeks before she died." "I know, and we have medical records proving it." Her oncologist, Dr. Rebecca Thornton, provided detailed documentation of her cognitive function throughout her treatment. She was fully competent when we executed these documents. We even had her evaluated by a neuropsychologist, Dr. James Luwu, specifically to prevent this kind of challenge. Their lawsuit won't go anywhere, but they were going to try. They were actually going to try to paint Grandma as mentally incompetent to get what they wanted. "Do whatever you need to do," I told Thomas. "I'm done being nice about this." That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Anna, this is Daniel Brooks. I'm representing your brother, Michael Brennan. I know who you are. My attorney already told you my answer. I'm hoping we can discuss this person to person, without lawyers in the way. Your brother's children are suffering because of this situation. My brother's children are suffering because their father doesn't have a job and got evicted from his apartment, not because of me. The house was clearly your grandmother's intent. The house was her intent for me. She left it to me in her will. She transferred the land to me 3 years before she died. She and I together established the conservation easement. This wasn't some confused decision made on her deathbed. This was carefully planned over years. Your family believes, my family can believe whatever makes them feel better, but the law is clear, and unless you have an actual legal basis for your threats, I'm done with this conversation." I hung up. The texts continued. "Michael, increasingly desperate. They're going to take my kids away if I lose this house. I'll lose custody. This is all your fault." I blocked his number. Tuesday, Jessica called. "My cousin. We'd been close as kids," I answered. "Anna, what's happening? No one will tell me the full story." I gave her the abbreviated version, the will, the transfer, the ambush, the reality of what Grandma had actually set up. "Jesus," she said when I finished. "I had no idea. No one did, except me and Grandma. And you're really going to enforce the easement? Let Michael stay, but make it impossible for him to do anything with the property? That's what Grandma wanted. That's what the land needs. Aunt Patricia is telling everyone you're trying to steal Michael's house. Let her. Anna, Jess, I love you, but I'm not negotiating on this. If you want to support me, great. If not, I understand. But I'm done defending myself for refusing to enable Michael's dysfunction." Silence. Then, "I support you, for what it's worth. It's worth a lot. Thank you." you. Wednesday afternoon, I was leading a site assessment in Malibu when my phone rang. Thomas Patterson. I excused myself from the team and walked down to the beach to take the call. We have a problem, he said. My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Your brother filed for an emergency injunction, claiming the conservation easement is preventing him from making necessary repairs to the property. He's alleging that the roof leaks, the foundation is cracking, and the easement terms won't let him fix it. That's bullshit. The easement allows normal maintenance and repairs. I know, but he's filed in Los Angeles Superior Court, and we have a hearing on Friday. Judge Marianne Torres presiding. We need to be there. President, can we win? Easily. The easement language is explicit about maintenance. He's either lying about the restrictions or he hasn't actually read the terms, but we need to show up and prove it. Friday came too fast. I put on my court clothes, navy suit, sensible heels, minimal jewelry. Met Thomas at the courthouse at 8:30 a.m. Michael was there with Daniel Brooks. My parents were there, all of them in the hallway, looking grim and united. My mother tried to approach me. I walked past her into the courtroom. Judge Marianne Torres was in her 50s, Latina, reputation for being no nonsense. She called the case at 9:15. Brooks stood and presented Michael's case. The roof leak, water damage in 2 bedrooms, foundation cracks. The conservation easement supposedly prohibited all work. Your Honor, Brooks said, my client is simply trying to maintain a safe home for his children, and the restrictive easement imposed by his sister is preventing basic repairs. Judge Torres looked at Thomas. Counselor, Thomas stood. Your Honor, the petitioner is either misinformed or deliberately misrepresenting the easement terms. May I direct the court's attention to Section 4, Paragraph 2 of the recorded easement document. He handed copies to the judge and to Brooks. Quote, normal maintenance and repairs necessary to preserve the existing structures are permitted and encouraged, including, but not limited to, roof repair, foundation stabilization, plumbing, electrical, and other essential systems. The judge read it, looked at Brooks. Counselor? Brooks flipped through his copy. His face went red. Your Honor, my client was told. What your client was told is not the same as what the document says. Have you read this easement? I reviewed the summary my client provided. That's not an answer, Mr. Brennan. Judge Torres looked at Michael. Have you read this document? Michael shifted in his seat. My family, explained it to me. So no, neither of you actually read the legal document before filing this emergency motion, claiming it prohibits basic repairs. Silence. Motion denied, Judge Torres said. The easement clearly permits necessary maintenance. Mr. Brennan, if you need to fix your roof, fix your roof. Miss Brennan has no objection to legitimate repairs. She looked at me. Is that correct? That's correct, Your Honor, I said. Then we're done here. And counselors? She looked at both Thomas and Brooks. Don't waste my time with emergency motions based on documents you haven't read. Next case. We walked out. In the hallway, Michael tried to approach me. Thomas stepped between us. My client has nothing to say to you, he said firmly. Anna, please, Michael called after me. I didn't know, Brooks said. I kept walking. Outside the courthouse, Thomas stopped. They're desperate. That's good for us. Desperate people make mistakes. What happens now? Now we wait. They can't fight the easement. It's bulletproof. They can't claim your grandmother was incompetent. We have too much documentation. They can't force you to sell. It's your property. Eventually, they'll realize they've lost. And until then, you live your life. Let them adjust to reality. I went back to work, back to my life. Stopped checking the family group chat I'd been removed from anyway. Stopped looking at my parents' social media. Stopped caring what the narrative was. 2 weeks later, I got a call from an unfamiliar number with a 661 area code. Local, I answered. Miss Brennan, this is Officer Chris Valdez with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. We received a complaint about potential easement violations at 847 Valley Oak Road. My grandmother's address. What kind of violations? Tree removal, unpermitted grading, possible creek disturbance. I'm heading out there now to assess. As the landowner and easement holder, I thought you should know. I'll meet you there. I called Thomas on the way. Michael's doing something to the property. I'm 5 minutes from my office. I'll grab the case files and meet you. The drive to Grandma's house took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of my heart pounding, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tight, thinking about what Michael might have done. I pulled up to find 2 Department of Fish and Wildlife trucks, Officer Valdez talking into his radio, and Michael standing in the side yard looking defensive. The back half-acre had been cleared, 3 oak trees down, the natural slope graded flat, heavy equipment still parked on the flattened ground. Oh my God, I breathed. Officer Valdez approached. Miss Brennan? Chris Valdez. This is my colleague, Officer Sarah Kim. A woman in a matching uniform nodded. We've documented extensive violations. 3 heritage oaks removed without permits. Approximately half an acre of native habitat cleared. Grading work within 50 feet of a protected creek. This is serious. How serious? Given the protected status and the endangered species habitat designation, we're looking at violations in the range of $75,000 to $100,000 in fines, plus mandatory restoration costs. Michael walked over. Anna, I can explain. Explain what? That you cut down trees that were here before before you were born, that you destroyed endangered frog habitat, that you did exactly what the easement explicitly prohibits? I needed space for a pool. For the kids, you're so obsessed with stupid frogs you won't let my children have a normal life. Officer Valdez stepped in. Mr. Brennan, are you the homeowner? Yes. Did you apply for any permits for this work? I don't need permits. It's my property. Actually, I said quietly, it's mine. The land is mine. He just lives on the house and the quarter-acre it sits on. Officer Kim made a note. And the work was done entirely on Miss Brennan's protected land? Yes, sir. You're going to receive formal citations for these violations. You'll have 30 days to respond. The fines will start at $25,000 per day from the date of the first violation. First violation? Michael interrupted. This just happened. According to the equipment rental contract we found on site, the work started 5 days ago. That's $125,000 so far, plus restoration costs estimated at another $60,000 to $80,000, and depending on the assessment of creek damage, possible federal charges under the Clean Water Act. Michael's face went white. I don't have that kind of money. Then you shouldn't have violated a conservation easement, Officer Valdez said flatly. Thomas arrived then, pulled up next to my car. He walked over, assessed the situation, and immediately started taking photos with his phone. Thomas Patterson, representing Miss Brennan. Officers, what's the current status? They briefed him. He made notes, took more photos, asked technical questions about the citation process and the restoration requirements. Then, he turned to Michael. Where are your parents? What? Your parents, the ones who've been funding your legal challenges. Where are they? I don't know. Because you're going to need them to bail you out of this one too. The combined state fines and restoration costs are going to exceed $200,000. Michael sat down on the front steps, put his head in his hands. My parents' car pulled up 10 minutes later. My mother got out, saw the cleared land, and started crying. My father took one look at the fish and wildlife trucks and understood immediately. Michael, what did you do? I was making it better. For the kids, Anna won't let me do anything. You violated a state conservation easement, Officer Valdez said, and you're facing significant fines and criminal charges. My father looked at me. Actually looked at me. Maybe for the first time in years. Anna, surely we can work something out. He didn't understand. He was explicitly told the restrictions, I said. He had a copy of the easement. His attorney had a copy. The judge told him 2 weeks ago that he could do maintenance, but not development. He knew exactly what he was doing. But the fines are his responsibility, not mine. My mother walked toward me. Please, he's your brother. This will destroy him. He destroyed himself. I'm just refusing to save him from the consequences. Thomas finished his documentation and nodded to me. I have everything I need. Officers, will you send me copies of your reports and citations? Absolutely, Officer Kim said. This is one of the clearer cases we've had. As we walked back to our cars, my father called after me. You're really going to do this? Let your brother be destroyed? I stopped, turned around. Grandma left me that land to protect it, not to give Michael room for a pool, not to enable his next disaster, to protect it. That's what I'm doing. What happens to Michael is a consequence of his choices, not mine. I got in my car and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw my mother hugging Michael while my father paced, probably already figuring out how to pay for this latest disaster. That night, Thomas called. The Department of Fish and Wildlife is moving fast on this. They want to make an example, because heritage oak removal is a hot-button issue right now. Michael's looking at criminal charges in addition to the civil fines. How bad? Worst case? Misdemeanor environmental crimes. Up to a year in county jail, though more likely probation and community service, given it's a first offense. But combined with the fines he can't pay and the restoration work he can't afford, he's going to lose the house. He'll have to sell just to cover the penalties. And the house on a quarter acre with no development rights is essentially worthless to anyone except you. You could buy it for a fraction of what it would normally be worth given the circumstances. I sat with that for a long time. The house Grandma left me, the house she wanted me to have, the house she knew my parents would give to Michael, and now it would come back to me anyway, not because I fought for it, but because Michael destroyed his own chances at keeping it. 3 months later, Michael's attorney contacted Thomas to negotiate. The fines were finalized, $175,000 to the state. Restoration costs, $68,000. Total, $243,000 he didn't have. He was selling the house. My offer, $150,000, slightly above market value for a house with no land to speak of, surrounded by protected habitat no one could touch. Michael accepted. He didn't have a choice. The sale closed in December, 1 year and 2 months after Grandma died, 240 days since my parents pushed those papers across the kitchen table, telling me my brother needed it more. I changed the locks, hired a restoration crew to repair the damage Michael had done, planted new oak saplings where the old ones had been cut down. They'll take 100 years to replace what was lost, but it's a start. I don't live there. Not yet. Maybe someday. For now, I go there on Sundays, sit on Grandma's porch, watch the hawk's nest in the remaining oak trees, listen to the creek. My parents haven't spoken to me since the sale finalized. The family family group chat messages stop. The holiday dinner invitations stop. I'm effectively dead to them. I thought it would hurt more than it does. Michael moved in with them. No job still, no prospects, just another person for them to enable until they can't anymore. Jessica visits sometimes, sits with me on the porch, tells me family gossip I don't ask for but don't mind hearing. She's the only one who understands. Was it worth it? She asked last month. I looked out over the valley. The land that's been in our family for 60 years. The land that will be protected forever now. The house that came back to me, not through fighting, but through inevitability. Yeah, I said, it was worth it. Grandma's letter is framed now, hanging in the study. The same room where she told me they'd try to take it from me. The same room where we planned how to protect what mattered. She was right about all of it. And every Sunday when I sit on her porch, I feel her there, proud, satisfied, knowing that the land she loved is safe, that her Anna girl kept her promise.